Hello and welcome back to NSMA 2021 Live online. We're staying on schedule. We will be showing you in a moment a video preview of an upcoming summer webinar with Kathy Sham, Spectrum Manager with NASA Johnson Space Center. So we have basically a preview sizzler reel with her talking about high level about, there'll be a much more detailed webinar on the subject later this summer. Also wanted to remind everyone that we do have Brian Tremont, partner with Wilkinson Barker, and Daniel Thuman, legal advisor at FCC Commissioner Carr. We're rescheduling them till tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. And so that will update the agenda to show that. And we'll also update the agenda to show the David Meyer will be hosting a NSMA Working Group 3 status report. He'll be doing that around 3:15 p.m. Tomorrow, and we'll move the NSMA board meeting back after that. So that's some of the agenda changes. You'll see that in writing later today. And otherwise, we'll head into the preview with Kathy Sham from NASA.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us at the annual NSMA conference this year online. Our next speaker is recorded and giving a preview of her webinar this summer. It's Katherine Sham. She's a Spectrum Manager at the Johnson Space Center in Houston, Texas. She's been a Spectrum Manager at NASA, and she'll be talking about spectrum management on the moon. Enjoy.
Well, hello NSMA, and just wanted to introduce everyone to Katherine Sham at NASA. We'll be presenting later a webinar in June or July. We'll give you the exact time and date. But just as a promotional for everyone who's viewing the conference this week, Katherine will be speaking on NASA spectrum matters, spectrum planning, pre-coordination, and lunar mission activity. And I don't know, Katherine, could you give us a little background about yourself?
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Kathy Sham. I've been working at NASA for over 30 years since I graduated from college. And over these years, I worked on Space Shuttle program and also International Space Station program. And then leading up to more recent years, I supported commercial cargo and commercial crew programs. So have experience working with international partners and also our industry partners on spectrum matters. And it's been very exciting. And more recently, I started working with NASA lunar missions, in particular, because as you all know, the moon is a very popular place, and we are very excited with the variety of missions that NASA is planning. And as part of my role as the Spectrum Manager at NASA's Johnson Space Center, we work regularly with our international partners also on their lunar missions. And based on our experience, we have learned over the years that early planning in discussing spectrum requirements is something that have helped us mitigate potential major issues down the road once we start building hardware. So that is something that I'm excited to share with everyone on how we do pre-coordination and how we do planning, both based on experiences from previous programs that are non-lunar and now lunar missions.
Fantastic, Kathy. I think we're going to have a lot of. I know we have a lot of interested folks in these issues. Kind of high level. What are some of your biggest challenges these days that you think you'll be talking about when we do the webinar?
Yeah, so some of the biggest challenges that we experience actually is many times missions want to come in and they would say, well, we have these requirements and we want to use this spectrum. Rather than they talk about what your actual requirements are and where the best spectrum is for what you wanted to do. Because as you know, that spectrum is shared and nobody has a monopoly, and there is nowhere that it's just clear that nobody is there. So, so I think the biggest challenge for us is having these early discussions and figuring out what forum we could do this work in, and invite as many groups as possible to participate and collaborate. So I hope through this webinar we could achieve some of that.
Yeah, well, there's so much to think about, and you're reminding the world essentially that even on the moon, there's going to be spare, there's not unmitigated spectrum for everyone's use. You gotta measure twice and cut once and plan carefully.
Right. And one of the things is that I think sometimes we forget that spectrum that we could use in the lunar region and on the moon surface actually is spectrum that is shared by other near-Earth missions. So there is not a portion of the spectrum that's currently say you can only use it around the moon or on the moon. So it's even more important that we take missions that's already flying into account, or missions that's being planned already into account, because as you know, although radio frequency doesn't technically physically visible and touchable, it touches everything. So so that is something that I think we all know, but we forget easily.
Well, I'm very excited for the future webinar, and those are such important issues, and other panels that are occurring at this conference on satellite mega constellations and a variety of other aspects. Everyone's going to have to do a deep dive into understanding what you're wrestling with, because if we don't understand what you're wrestling with, we're not going to plan all our networks well. So very exciting. I look forward to talking in more detail, and everyone stay tuned for Kathy Sham's webinar that we'll be having in June or July. And thank you so much for giving us a little preview, Kathy. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joe, for the opportunity, and I look forward to speaking and further collaboration with everyone. Thank you.
Excellent. Thanks.
Okay, Joe, you're up if you want to say something. Hopefully everyone enjoyed that little preview with Kathy Sham.
Thanks, Mariana. Yeah, appreciate it. High level, we have just a quick review of the agenda. And again, I think everyone has that handy on the screen, as well as was emailed to them, as well as is on the nsma.org website. But the rest of the day, we have coming up at 11 a.m. Eastern, using drones to listen to RF interference with Tom Brinkotter, who's founder of RadioSiteTest.com. Very interesting, newer technology for analyzing spectrum paths and a variety of other aspects of spectrum management. So definitely take a look and listen to that at 11 a.m. very shortly. Then this afternoon at 1 p.m., we have a satellite mega constellation panel with John Janka, Chief Officer of Viasat's Government Affairs Programs, and Trey Hambury, a partner with Hogan Lovells, who's a satellite expert as well. So we have a really good discussion about a lot of new and dramatic developments in satellite mega constellations, and how to think about them from both a spectrum management standpoint and also a more holistic way to think about them, because they're all connected to how we do our jobs here, whatever aspect of job we do as an NSMA member. Later then is the politics of spectrum sharing with an NSMA fellow, Mitchell Lazarus, former consul at the Fixed Wireless Communications Coalition, retired partner with Fletcher Hilton Hildreth. Mitchell's been a longtime presenter and an amazing background, and we'll get into his background in more detail during that webinar. But he's treasured by NSMA and a really good thought leader on spectrum matters. Then we'll have a break, and then at 2:45 p.m. we'll have New Ideas in Spectrum, a really interesting take on new ideas in spectrum from Thomas Kidd. He's a strategic spectrum policy director at the Department of Navy, and Tom has some very innovative ideas that he's been working on with his colleagues that are, very broadly speaking, I think are going to be a lot of new ideas to all of us as spectrum managers. And I don't want to jump the shark there. I want to let him talk about his new ideas, but I just want to let you know it's very exciting, very interesting concepts in spectrum management and spectrum usage that haven't really been shared before, at least on this platform, and are maybe not widely known even inside the spectrum community. After Tom, we'll have an Arte spectrum management certification discussion with the chair of an Arte, Thomas Fagan, spectrum management certification programs. And this goes to the heart of what a lot of folks who are NSMA members do. We're spectrum managers. So what does the spectrum management program look like? What is the, what are some of the newer elements? He'll put a lot of form and function around that, give us a broader understanding of how all that comes together. And just wanted to make sure everyone's taking some time to go rediscover your roots of spectrum management. Tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. we'll open up for a virtual breakfast. Again, all of you, by virtue of being on this broadcast, did receive a free breakfast. So you have a coupon for breakfast sandwiches and coffees and whatever else, juice, if you're not a coffee or tea person. So make sure to make use of that. And then at 8:30 a.m. we will have Brian Tremont and Danielle Thuman. Again, Brian is a partner at Wilkinson Barker Knauer. He's been a longtime presenter for NSMA. He at one point was chief of staff to the FCC chairman, and he represents a lot of Fortune 100 corporations, as well as a lot of small and innovative companies in the spectrum space. Danielle is a legal advisor to FCC Commissioner Brendan Carr, and she was also an attorney at Wilkinson Barker back in the day. So they'll have a good, easy camaraderie and dialogue, and they're very, very bright people, and really looking forward to getting them talking live and then taking questions tomorrow morning in the 8:30 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. to 9:15 slot. We will have the Working Group 3 with former NSMA President and Working Group 3 Chairman David Meyer at 3:15 p.m. And that'll be updated in your agenda. But then after Brian Tremont and Danielle in the 8:30 a.m. to 9:15 a.m. slot, we'll have from 9:15 a.m. to 10 a.m. A deep dive into 6 gigahertz developments. Many of you know 6 gigahertz is, there's well over 100,000 core links that connect almost all our vital infrastructures, and anything from utilities to our biggest and largest broadband networks, to state police and other systems, emergency service systems, water management, utility, electric, other management, and there's also just a tremendous influx of unlicensed devices, because it's a big band, and Ira Keltz talked about this earlier, under development. And George Kaiser, our immediate past president and a wizard at 6 gigahertz, will be talking at length about these 6 gigahertz developments. And there's a lot of issues that really require serious attention from spectrum managers, and So that'll be a good program to pay attention to. After that ends at 10 a.m., we'll take a short 15-minute break tomorrow, and then we'll be in the CBRS progress report with Andrew Clegg, a Spectrum Engineering Lead at Google, board member of NSMA, also a past NSMA president. So another dean of NSMA, so to speak, will be talking at length about the CBRS bands and progress. And I know Ira Keltz touched a little bit on that, and you'll get Andrew's take on what's happening there. Then at 11 a.m., there will be a human RF exposure panel with George Kaiser, myself, and Justin DeVault, who's a field application engineer at Anritsu. George will talk about a lot of practical items where the industry is grappling with to comply with the newer FCC requirements. Justin will talk about how you practically do the measurements. You literally, here's some equipment. How does it work? How does it operate? So there's that. And then related to all that is what Ira mentioned is came out just Friday, May 14th, a whole compliance guide. And I'll speak to that at length. I spent the weekend studying it, and Ira spoke to it a little bit, but I'll get into more detail on that. And then, of course, we'll be taking questions. Then we'll take a lunch break after that ends at 11:45 a.m. tomorrow, and we'll go into a 1 p.m. radio astronomy spectrum protection program with Harvey List. And Harvey's been a past presenter, very accomplished radio astronomer at the National Radio Astronomy Observatory. We look forward to hearing from Harvey. Always interesting. And he'll be in the 1 p.m. to 1:45 p.m. slot tomorrow. Immediately after that, there'll be a 5G and Green Earth Initiatives recap, 2021 recap. I'll be providing that again. I did that in 2019 for our board, so it wasn't really widely available. We're gonna update that and make that widely available for all NSMA members. We'll also be joined by Mariana, who you've seen is helping us throughout the day to day. She's also an environmental engineer and sustainability consultant. Environmental engineer, came out of Harvard, very smart. And we're going to talk a lot about some of what I was talking about with Ira earlier today about wireless bio issues and how they interrelate, and what are some of the new fields, and what are some of the things to be cautious around. And there's a lot of detail there we'll spend a bit of time talking about. And then at 3:15 p.m., we'll be joined by Mark Johnson, who will talk about electromagnetic effects on spectrum management, all kinds of things that are being addressed that folks are probably not aware of, from big wind farms and how they affect spectrum management to other aspects that are broad in scope, and things that folks may not normally think about. And so we're really pleased to have Mark on board. After Mark concludes at 3:15 p.m., we'll have David Meyer in as Senior Manager of Commerce, ComSearch, former president of NSMA and current board member, and he'll walk through a lot of details of our Working Group 3 work and status reports. And then we'll conclude the program, and for those who are NSMA board members, we'll have a short board meeting. And again, this updated agenda will be made available soon and emailed around. And otherwise, we'll be breaking, now that I'm finishing that update, we'll be breaking, and we'll be back on in 10 minutes with Tom Brinkotter, using drones to listen for RF interference. So go ahead and take a break, jump into your chat rooms, get a drink of water or coffee, and we will see you in a little less than 10 minutes at 11 a.m. using drones to listen for RF interference with Tom Brinkotter, founder of radiosite test.com. Take care.